Many farmers are now choosing to feed their cows cheap supplements like this stuff, palm kernel. But even this is proving hard to get their hands on now. It's already run out once on the spot market.
We're approaching midday. This is peak traffic time for a Sunday, and as you can see, things are running smoothly.
Their flights are still cancelled until at least 7 o'clock this evening. That's to allow for a thorough investigation and inspection of that tarmac and infrastructure at Christchurch Airport to ensure that it's absolutely safe. The organisers of this protest say the government has underestimated the amount of opposition to its mining proposals. Today's 20,000 plus turnout is hoped to show how widespread the anger is. Even just in the last few minutes, the wind and the swells behind me here have picked right up. People have been coming in and out of this car park all day for a glimpse of the wild seas. This bag here is just one of 30 that's been filled with everything from shoe soles to shampoo bottles and soft drink cans. And the worst thing of all is that the rubbish doesn't even look like it belongs to Great Barrier Islanders. Environmentalists say that around 90% of it is Auckland's.
17 overseas students who forked out thousands of dollars to study here might not end up with anything after the NZQA blacklisted their school. As Amy Kelly discovered, the authorities' review of Auckland's Ivy College shows the schools failed to measure up.
Vikas Argawal and 16 other foreign students have spent a lot of money and a year of studying and may end up with nothing to show for it.
I am getting angry.
Vikas and his classmates paid Auckland's Ivy College nearly $14,000 each for a one-year business management course.
As you can see, this is my arithmetic record. Already passed today, but waiting for what? Certificate.
That's because the diplomas are sitting with the New Zealand Institute of Management. One News understands the NZQA's told it not to release them.
Neither organisation would appear on camera, but we did get our hands on the NZQA's recent review of Ivy College. It rated poor in 9 out of 10 areas. The NZQA concluding that it's not confident with the college's educational performance or self-assessment.
There are a lot of things that we can do to improve it. We can.
Salil Chada is Ivy's Director of Studies.
We need to get more resources. We need to get more staff.
But he's not accepting any fault.
I'm not the owner of the school. I have not been responsible for what's happened to the students.
You are the person sitting in front of us answering on this issue.
I feel sorry for them. I do feel sorry for them.
The NZQA's told Ivy College to stop taking enrolments and it will meet management tomorrow. Meanwhile, for Vikas Argawal, time's running out.
My visa is expiring on 8th of August, just like 18 days. If I didn't get my certificate, I have to go back India.
His future now just as uncertain as that of the institution he trusted. Amy Kelly, One News.
Well, in the last hour, the NZQA has contacted One News to say certificates will be released to students who have met the course requirements.
Yes, good evening to you. It's the kind of choice none of us would ever really want to make. To save yourself or die trying to save your best mate. It's the position a group of Northland men found themselves in after that fishing trip went horribly, horribly wrong. One man still missing, presumed dead. The survivors spoke exclusively to One News reporter Amy Kelly.
Took him as far as I could go before I knew I was going to go myself.
It's the toughest thing Samuel Cash has ever had to do. Let his best mate go after 3 hours swimming for their lives.
I said to him, brother, I've got to let you go. I've got to drown myself. I've got to let you go.
It started out as a fishing trip just like any other.
Started as normal. Put the boat in the water. Choice boys were off.
Yeah, flat airs. It was flat airs.
It wasn't even rough.
Yeah.
There were 5 on board. Shannon, Samuel and Mike, with his 12-year-old son Quinn, and Anthony Anton Preston, now missing, presumed dead. They had beers on board too, but say they'd hardly touched them.
2 bottles had come out or whatever. 2 boys had a drink. None of us had... Anton had drunk. But we didn't. We weren't drinking. We wouldn't have made it if we were drunk.
They'd launched from Martins Bay, south of Warkworth, and were headed for Moturekereka Island in Auckland's Hauraki Gulf. 18 uninhabited hectares with a shipwreck offshore, a fisherman's paradise. But their boat only made it halfway.
The engine still... The stern of the boat sank down as it does, you know, when you're coming off the plane and a wave come over, bang, we all lost our balance and it just went straight over.
The men find themselves scrambling for life jackets as Mike, the skipper, sets off a flare that goes unnoticed.
It was so sudden.
It was fast, you know. I couldn't believe how fast it was.
It's so quick.
1 minute we're standing on top, next thing
we're all on the water.
We're underneath the boat trying to swim out.
The men decide their only hope of survival is to swim the 2 kilometres to Moturekereka. The freezing 11-degree water gets to Anton faster than the others. Samuel has to pull him along.
And when somebody's trying to tell you their last rites and then testimony, it's not what you want to hear, you know. You know,
fight, would you fight?
You know, just shut up and carry on, man. Come on, let's just keep going.
3 hours on, it gets too much, and Samuel leaves Anton behind.
He was gone, and he was gone, you know.
Back in Snell's Beach, Anton's partner is oblivious to the horror he's going through.
I had no idea he was even on a boat. I had no idea at all. If you're going to go out, just at least tell someone that you're going out. So when you don't come back, you know, people are thinking, what's happened?
They'd been together 5 years.
He was arty, he could draw, and, you know, and he carved these 2 rings. These were for us.
As night falls, the 3 other men, plus Mike's son, make it to land. But the game of survival's not over as the temperature plummets to 4 degrees.
I found an old long drop with some white corrugated iron, so just rip one of those off and just rip branches off, flax and whatever, cutty grass, and made it as a roof.
Mike struggles to warm up his 12-year-old son.
Just wrung all my clothes out as much as I could, put them back on him, and then got inside the jersey with him and hugged him until I could get him warm enough to stay alive, you know. He was frothing at the mouth and scary, man.
And you stayed like that all night?
Yeah, we hugged each other.
Meanwhile, after leaving Anton behind, Samuel has no one with him. He comes ashore elsewhere and for hours thinks he's the only survivor.
And thinking they were dead, you know, thinking they were gone. Thinking, gee, I'm the only one left. What's going on?
It's a long night.
And it's amazing when you're facing a situation where you think you're going to die, and then all of a sudden thoughts and memories of people you love come flooding in. It's like, you know, I can't give up for them, you know, my children, you know, my partner. You know, so I'm just yelling and screaming and trying to motivate myself as much as I can. I'm even laughing at the situation I'm in, you know, like anything that could work. And yeah, it worked.
As day breaks, the sound they've been longing to hear, they say, just in time.
Madness was setting in, and we were going to try and swim back. I mean, no water, the salt water taste, and all we want to do is get back.
They're airlifted out, treated for hypothermia at North Shore Hospital, and within days, reunited with whānau. But with their friend still somewhere out here, it's hard to be happy.
It's all right for us, we're sitting here, you know, his family's going through the most traumatic thing out. I just want for closure for them, you know.
He was my best friend. My lover, my best friend. It's my, you know, he was just always there for me.
Just the realisation of that, we could be dead, we could be where he is. Yeah. We're here to see our families, he's not.
Exactly, yeah.
You can't imagine going through what they have been through, can you? The report from Amy Kelly.
Wendy, I'm standing on the edge of the Waikato River, not its normal edge, its real edge. That's somewhere way out there. I'm told it's a couple of metres past the submerged tree and sign that you can see. But the river has risen, and it's risen so much that it's actually come right the way up here and put this car park underwater. Even just in the last few minutes, the wind and the swells behind me here have picked right up. People have been coming in and out of this car park all day for a glimpse of the wild seas. This bag here is just one of 30 that's been filled with everything from shoe soles to shampoo bottles and soft drink cans. And the worst thing of all is that the rubbish doesn't even look like it belongs to Great Barrier Islanders. Environmentalists say that around 90% of it is Auckland's.
A One News investigation has uncovered shocking and widespread exploitation of desperate newcomers to New Zealand.
We went undercover to expose businesses offering to pay workers as little as $8 an hour, way below the minimum wage.
The victims are some of the most vulnerable, who were just trying to support themselves in a new country. Amy Kelly's been working on this exclusive series and joins us now live. Amy.
Peter, we're looking out at the Auckland skyline. This is the city that most migrants to New Zealand choose to call home. They come here because they expect to find work. What they don't expect is to be treated like second-class labourers, paid as little as almost half the minimum wage.
This takeaway shop owner wants a new kitchen hand, but he's only prepared to pay $11 an hour.
现在最低工资是不是13.5啊？
His view shared by two more employers One News caught out, offering pay rates below New Zealand's minimum wage of $13.50 an hour.
What are they earning in there, Mr. Chen?
My wife.
What are the rest of the employees earning? This is a common thing in the Asian business community. Why?
We'll reveal what these men had to say for themselves later on. First, how we uncovered evidence of Auckland's black economy.
A lot of migrants or international students, they hesitate to exercise their legal rights because they're scared and also they're desperate for a job.
With this employment lawyer's help, we created the profile of a student migrant job seeker and sifted through jobs listings on Sky Kiwi, a website for Chinese living in New Zealand. Some work was blatantly advertised at illegal pay rates.
Chain restaurants, full-time position, and $20,000.
Other listings were more subtle. Phone calls to employers confirmed that of our 6 shortlisted jobs, all but one are paying below the minimum wage.
He said there's 3 candidates at the moment.
So no shortage of people willing to work for that little?
Yes.
Now our job seeker is one of them. At China Hong Kong restaurant in Auckland's Birkenhead, she's offered $40 a night.
5點到
That's just $8 an hour.
打個依正常，我依家最低工資係咪13個半啊？去到已經。
But when we confront Mr. Chen, he calls what he offered our job seeker a trial rate.
One night, you check it. You okay or not okay? Just see.
We point out even workers signed up to trial periods are entitled to the minimum wage.
Are you happy for me to go in now and ask one of your staff members what you're paying them?
Too many custom here.
The owners of Glitter Takeaways in Auckland's Sandringham also believe they have the right to exploit new staff.
You didn't know that the minimum wage was $13.50?
I know.
So why do you offer $11?
Because I think you don't do my job.
Finally, the owner of Smiley Mart in Auckland's CBD, who tells us he didn't know the pay rate he offered was illegal.
Are you aware that you're breaking the law by paying someone $8 an hour?
No.
But he then tries to justify his actions by painting himself as a victim.
People pinch my things and I can't chase them after.
So is this an excuse for you to exploit other people?
Why not? Why not? If you people give you not honest, not how can do? I don't know.
Some really disturbing comments from employers there, and of course the question on everyone's minds, how are they getting away with it? We'll put that to the Department of Labour tomorrow. Peter?
Weather's expected to push the oil slick further along the Bay of Plenty coast. About 40 kilometres has now been polluted. Amy Kelly travelled along the affected area today, talking to worried locals.
Our journey starts in Little Waihi. Here the oil is just starting to creep in. It's a slight sheen on the water, a purplish slick around a stone in the sand.
This sort of stuff.
At this holiday camp, they're hoping this is as bad as it gets.
We've already had phone calls, people ringing up and cancelling bookings, which is going to hurt us financially.
Just around the point from Little Waihi at Makatu, locals have seen a lot worse. Now 50 volunteers are signing up for clean-up training, some from as far as Hawke's Bay.
Usefulness, something to do. Compassion. Carl's a fisherman. The sea. I'd like to think that if it happened in the bay, Hawke's Bay, someone would be there and come to help, yeah.
Next, we headed north to Mount Maunganui. By now, this beach had closed to everyone but the clean-up teams.
That's when it hits home, when you're told, no, you're not allowed on the beach. Yeah. Come down here practically every day in summer. It's our whole life.
A little further on at Omanu, 100 people crowd into the surf club to learn the right way to clean up.
Issues such as dune erosion, health and safety, the secondary contamination.
They're given the right gear and tips on technique.
We're using shovels, very flat place, just under the oil, minimal sand.
From now on, anyone involved in the clean-up process will have to don this gear: a head-to-toe protective white suit, high-vis vest and gumboot guards. There's also a decontamination process. When they get back from the beach, they'll have to walk through 2 paddling pools to get rid of any excess oil.
Decontamination done and dusted, we head for Tauranga Harbour. The oil's made its way in here too. As the tide's gone out, it's left a layer of oil-coated foam from the ship's containers, followed by layer after layer of the sticky residue that's become an all too familiar sight. This is your One News Minute. I'm Amy Kelly. 3 people killed in a crash this morning near Turangi were overseas students on their way to walk the Tongariro crossing. They died on State Highway 46 around 7:30 this morning when the rear van in a convoy of 2 rolled. The victims were Boston University students here for a semester on a study abroad program. A fishing company stopped work at Port Nelson while the death of a crewman's investigated. The 33-year-old was at Tally's Wharf when he fell about 15 metres from the deck he was working on through an open hold. The 2 men found guilty of a mass dog slaughter in Wellsford won't face the maximum penalty of 5 years in prison because they committed offences before the law was changed in 2010. They'll now face up to 3 years for shooting 33 dogs. In sport, a miserable day for our triathletes in San Diego, with Nikki Samuels not helping her Olympic chances with a disappointing 39th. Debbie Tanner didn't even finish, forced out after a 3-bike pile-up. And that's One News in a minute. Good afternoon and welcome to TVNZ7 News at 3 o'clock. Hundreds of businesses say they're millions of dollars out of pocket from the Ports of Auckland dispute. The Chamber of Commerce released figures today showing 200 small to medium-sized businesses have lost more than $2 million in direct costs so far, with that figure still climbing. It's been 8 months since the dispute began, with still no sign of a resolution. The Maritime Union says the ports need to be held accountable for the inconvenience and cost to Aucklanders. Both sides return to the Employment Relations Authority next week in a bid to end the deadlock. Over 1,000 people have taken to the streets in Gisborne to protest the potential closure of their railway. Gisborne Mayor Meng Foon led the march today in a bid to convince KiwiRail how important the threatened Napier to Gisborne rail line is. The line was badly damaged in flooding 3 weeks ago, and KiwiRail says it'll cost millions to fix. But locals say a closure would be disastrous for an already isolated region and will come at the costs of vital jobs. The New Zealand film industry is set to benefit from director James Cameron's recent land purchase, with the director revealing he'll film 2 Avatar sequels here. He spoke exclusively to TV1's Breakfast.
Obviously, Peter Jackson keeps the village fed when he's making films, but I don't think that the nation should look to him for in total dependence. So I'm going to do my part to help foster and grow the New Zealand film community.
Cameron also says he plans to apply for New Zealand citizenship once he moves on to his $20 million Wairarapa estate. A concert is being held in Wellington today to mark 30 years as a nuclear-free city. It's in Civic Square with Anika Moa, Warren Maxwell and Sam Manzanza among the performers. The deputy at the time our national nuclear-free policy was introduced by Prime Minister David Lange says Mr Lange would be proud.
I think David Lange would be very proud that this policy has endured for all those years. It was very controversial. It upset all our traditional friends, it upset Australia, it upset the United States, it upset France, it upset the United Kingdom. But now it is the new orthodoxy.
Wellington passed its nuclear-free declaration in 1982, and within a year, half of New Zealand was living in nuclear-free zones. Activists in Syria say at least 5 people have been killed in isolated attacks, but the UN-brokered ceasefire appears largely to have held. Crowds of protesters filled the streets of many cities following Friday prayers in one of the first major tests of the ceasefire. But the presence of troops kept many opponents of the regime inside mosques. The opposition says the regime won't allow any escalation of protests. The UN Security Council is meeting to decide whether to send an official observer mission to Syria. Former BG Robin Gibb is in a coma in a London hospital, with doctors fearing he has only days to live. The 62-year-old appeared to have made a recovery from liver and colon cancer this year, but doctors believe a second tumour has emerged. He's also developed pneumonia. Robin Gibb's wife and 3 children are keeping a bedside vigil. A traffic policeman in Vietnam has shown true commitment to the job. After this bus took off at a checkpoint, the officer stepped onto the front of the bus, gripping onto the windscreen. He clung to the front of the bus for more than 1 kilometre until his colleagues eventually managed to stop the vehicle. The bus driver now faces up to 3 years in prison. To sport now, and a 5th win in 6 games has seen the Broncos draw level with the Storm at the top of the NRL points table. With skipper Terry Campese suffering a potential season-ending knee injury in the first half, the Raiders were always going to struggle. The side that embarrassed the Warriors last week were themselves embarrassed, 30 points to 6.
Steams past them, Hunt goes to the line and will just get there and score.
And for the second time in 6 weeks, Wayne Bennett's Newcastle Knights have been beaten by old outfit the Dragons, St George winning 12-4. Now to the weather. In Auckland, remaining showers clear to a fine day with southerly breezes. It's a fine day in Hamilton, the southerlies dying away. In the capital, a few showers clearing this afternoon to fine spells with a southerly, mostly cloudy in Christchurch with light winds, and it's fine in Dunedin. Southerlies dying out this afternoon. That's the latest news, sport and weather here on TVNZ7. The next update is here at 4 from your early news team. Have a great afternoon.